Hey, jerkweeds. This is Mr. Jeremy from the Mr. Jeremy Show. Before I talked about inventing a time machine. What would make a time machine? I talked about the rules of time travel. Well, I thought of an idea. Really, it's based off of a popular TV show, Quantum Leap. You see, a time machine, the problems with a time machine is you're stepping into a piece of the machinery. And then you're traveling somewheres. And let's say you travel back to 1985. Well, I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. Or maybe even 9 years old. In 1985. So, for me, maybe 8 years old. For me to go back to that time period would be kind of weird to see myself as an 8-year-old boy. But here's my theory. If you travel back in time, you're going to be who you were in the past. In other words, for an example, if I traveled back to 1977, I'd be just a newborn baby. And I wouldn't know anything. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would have to actually wait for a few years until I go, oh, wait. I traveled here in a time machine. Basically, you travel back through time having the same knowledge of the future that you do now. And when you do, there are certain rules. I mentioned some of the rules in my last video about time travel. You can't interact with anybody. You can interact with them, but you can't, if they're supposed to die, you can't tell them they're going to die, when they're going to die, and how they're going to die. Somebody's supposed to die, they're just supposed to die. There's nothing you can do about that. You could stop babies from being born. Certainly, you could stop your own children from being born. But that sort of time travel is so complicated. It's so complicated, it really is. Because you're stuck in that time period. And you have to keep going back and forth. You can't just sit in that time period and change one thing, and then something else down the timeline is messed up. You'd have to go back down that timeline and change it also. The best way that I thought about that would be good for time travel would be to use the same principles as Quantum Leap. You can make a quantum leap into your own body. But this way you don't screw anything up. This way you look like you. You look like who you're supposed to look like in that time period. But you see yourself when you're standing in the... You see yourself as yourself until you look in the mirror. And then when you look in the mirror, you see yourself as a little bitty self. But you have the same thoughts and ideas, and you know everything that you know up to this point. But now here's the problem with Quantum Leap. When Sam made his leaps, it was automatic. He had no control over it. He leaped into anyone and everyone, and even females. Which was kind of some funny episodes. Now my theory is, why can't we have a controlled leap? Where we can actually control the leap itself. To be able to control the quantum physics which makes us leap into other bodies. If we can do that, then we can control the time period and the body of which we're going to leap into. Again, if I was going to go back to the past, I'd want to go back to my own past and fix my own shit, because I got issues. But, really, the furthest back I think I would actually go would be to 2001. That's the furthest back I would actually go. And then, I'd leap back to now. Because the now is the then that was now. So, that's all I would do. And I would just change just like a few things. Maybe some relationship problems I had back in those days. Or maybe even I would talk to somebody that I haven't talked to in a while. And, whatever. I think it would be cool if you could bring stuff back with you. But that's not the way time travel works. You could severely damage the timeline if, let's say, you brought a newspaper from the future back to the past. And remember in Back to the Future Part 2 where Marty brought that sports almanac, or tried to bring the sports almanac back to the past with him, and Doc threw it in that trash can, and the old man Biff from the future went back to the past and gave it to the Biff of 1955. Now that's something that you don't want to do. You don't want to screw with the timeline. The timeline could spew off into some alternate timeline. Now I was born in 1977, so I really had a kind of an interesting journey through time. It was after the 70s, and after the Russian era, and before the Berlin Wall even come crashing down whenever they knocked down the Berlin Wall. I was there, man, but I was just a little kid. Probably by 1988. I was only like 10 years old. 11 years old, I'm sorry. 11 years old. So really, I didn't understand like the music bands of that era. I knew the popular ones were like Michael Jackson, Madonna, Boy George, George Michaels, Phil Collins, Heart, Rush, Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Whitesnake, Skid Row. And even if you go further into it, like 1990, you could talk about Poison. My favorite movies were like Ghostbusters, Meatballs, Spaceballs, pretty much anything you, Stripes, Caddyshack 1, 2, and 3, the Naked Gun movies, the Police Academy movies. We can't forget about the Police Academy movies, please. Those were all-time greats. The Porky movies, WWF wrestling, because back then it was actually a pretty decent show. And when you're a little kid, you thought it was real, you thought it was a real sport. So it was actually kind of cool. Knight Rider, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, Voltron. There's just a lot of things I can name, but I'm sure you don't want to sit there and waste time listening to me name them. But, there was just a lot of things in that era that, hey, the kids of the 90s and the kids of that was born in 2000, they missed all that shit, Of course, right now, anybody that was born in 2000 would be about 6 years old. 7 years old. But, hell. They missed all that. Now what is it? Like SpongeBob, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, you guy Kaio or whatever the hell his name is. That's all that shit. What is that? What is that stuff? Bratz. I can even remember 1989 or 1988, 1989, 1990 Ninja Turtles coming out. Oh shit, I'm out of time. I gotta go. See you later. Do 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 do. And good luck.